All right, guys, let me adjust the lighting in here and hope that that is much better. Hi, thank you. I'm only running about an hour and 15 minutes late, but welcome to the life of being a mom to a toddler. I did have a little bit of crafty blood running through me tonight, even though my toddler was very resistant to going to bed. So I did want to come on, and I did want to show you these beautiful cards that I was able to make using the silver and gold paper line. Now what I did was I purchased the card making workshop, okay, and it was the Workshop Your Way, which is item number G1142, and what that had in it is it offered me a whole bunch of things, including this beautiful paper line from our silver and gold collection. And it only offers one of the patterns in that collection, but it offers, I think there was 3 or 4 different sheets in it. It also offers this really beautiful, I don't know if you guys can pick that up. It is a, like a light green color, as well as some grays, some blacks, and some whites for the solid colored cardstock. On top of the cardstock, I received these itty bitty sparkles, which, let me tell you, they're really... Hi, Mary Kay. Thanks so much for holding in. I'm sorry I'm running late tonight. So these itty bitty sparkles are really a pain to use. I'm not a huge fan of them just because they're small and I have big, huge fingers. But they're absolutely gorgeous on the card. So that kind of makes me a little bit of a fan of them. So I got those in the pack. And I also got this awesome stamp set. And this is called Joyful Tidings. And it's B1578. It comes in the workshop kit. And I don't know if you can see it. There's a couple of different stamps here. So there's smaller stars. There's this border, which is arrows. There's 2 big flags. There's 2 different stars, with ones with stripes and ones with dots. And then there's 2 different sentiments. And this one says, sending tidings of comfort and joy. And this one's on backwards. This is the kind of day I'm having. This one says, warm winter wishes. And they're really cute. Again, it's one of our smaller stamp sets that is offered in the kit. I'm pretty sure the kit altogether is only $20.95. So you get a ton of products. You also get card bases and envelopes. And I'm pretty sure that there's enough to make 12, 6 of each design. Let me grab the designs real quick. This is what it's supposed to be. Of course, I'm decided to be a little bit of a rebel and make cards on my own. So that I often tell people to purchase the Workshop Your Ways and the kits, because we offer more product for less money. Okay, so what we do is we put the products all together and then we offer you a discount on it. So it's always better to go for the workshops just because of that reason. So that's going to be the best way to save money. So again, it makes 6 of these cards and 6 of these cards, or you can go off on your own. So I have enough left over to make those cards, but I also made 2 of these cards. There's one here. Okay, and this was just me playing around with them. And then I was digging around in our online office, and we have a whole bunch of tutorials, and I saw these 2, and she actually used a different stamp set and the full paper pack. But I was like, hey, we're crafty anyway, so why not try to figure out how to make these 2 cards on my own version using the workshop. So that's what I did. So these are, long story short, these are what we are going to make tonight. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make this tree. And then other than that, the cards are pretty simple. So let's go ahead and get going. The first one I'm going to make is this one right here, just because it is the easier one to make. I do want you guys to know that the Warm Winter Wishes came from that stamp set. And you're more than welcome, if you do buy the stamp set, to use this flag, like one of these two. However, I had an older stamp set that is now retired, and it had, yeah, you can see how retired it is. So our new packages don't have the buttons, and our old ones do. So this one's pretty old. And what it has is it's just a tag stamp set. Okay, so whether you want to use the exact same kit that I'm using, whether you want to use your own stamps, whatever you want to do, just get creative. Everything that I create can easily be transferred to supplies you already have. You don't have to buy your own. However, if you are interested in buying your own, we do have that mystery hostess party going on right now. So now is a great time to do it. And I also have a special discount coming up this weekend too, because it's my birthday weekend. So again, I'm getting way off track. It's way past my bedtime. I'm going to use this retired tag here. You can always cut your own tag if you don't have a stamp set. They're not that hard to cut. Or you can use a different stamp set, or you can use a die cutter or dies or anything to create this tag up front. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going. With all of our stamp sets, you're going to have this little cushion here. That's not for packaging. That's actually to put your projects on top and to stamp onto. And the reason for that is because it provides cushion, so it gets all those nooks and crannies of the stamp onto your image. So, and it provides a crisper image. So what I'm going to need for this one, and I went through and I cut them all out, but I will slow down and I will give you the measurements so you can cut them with me. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some sort of pattern paper, preferably a Christmas theme or a birthday theme, since we have the presents on the front. Okay, and that's going to take up the whole front of an A2 card base, which is 5.5 by 4 1/4. Okay, so that's what I have here. So go ahead and cut that one out. The other thing that you are going to need is you are going to need a card base. And if you do not have card bases on hand, again, a standard card is going to measure 8.5 by 5.5, and then you fold that in half. And I thought I had some, and I don't know where they went, so I'm just going to grab 2 more. I buy the value pack, and what this is it's 50 cards and 50 envelopes. Sometimes I cut my own, but I bought those just because the Christmas season is coming up, and it's a lot easier just to pull 2 out and already have them pre-established. So whether you're cutting your own, or whether you have one already, go ahead and pull that out. And what we're going to do is we are going to take that card front, we are going to find our adhesive, and we are going to put that card front on. I don't know where my adhesive is. I have lost my adhesive. That is no good. I don't have any idea where it went. Okay, so I'm going to use wet glue. Oh, here it is. I told you it was past my bedtime. It was sitting right next to me. I was going to say I don't recommend wet glue on cards just because it tends to be bulkier, but you use whatever you need to use. Adhesive is absolutely a personal preference. Okay, and the way that I make my cards is I lay them flat out. There is no right or wrong way to do this. That is just the way that I do it, and I don't have any idea why. But I lay it out, and it tends to be more even when I do it that way. When I don't do it that way, I tend to get a really off-centered card front. Okay, so we're going to lay that straight down. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do these 3 squares. And if you don't, again, if you don't have this paper, that's fine. I do recommend using a similar themed paper. And I do like the fact that the paper has some sort of pattern on it. However, with this one up here, I stamped a pattern onto solid colored cardstock. So either way, the first one, this bottom one right here, is going to measure 3 inches by 1.5. Okay, so 3 inches by 1.5. Go ahead and cut that one out. And with the next card, I'm going to do it completely from scratch with you. So we have that one. I'm just going to leave that one right there for now. I did not apply adhesive. Our second one is going to measure 2.5 by 1.5. Okay, and that's going to be this middle one. Okay. And then we're going to have a third one. And the third one is going to measure 1 3/4 by 1.5. Okay, and that one's going to go right up here. Now before I apply them, I'm going to take my stamp set and I'm going to do my stamping. Okay, so I need a piece of white paper for my tag. That's not even the one I was using. We have a new gray color. We just introduced a whole new lines of neutrals. So we have a bunch of grays and a bunch of browns. And the grays look, this is actually a gray. And look how close it looks to white. Like it's a very, very faint gray. But then if you flip it around, it's a new two-toned cardstock. And all of our solid colored cardstock is now two-toned. So there's a very light color and a darker color, or a darker shade on the back side, and it's super cool. But I had to determine whether this was white, whether I was working with two whites. Anyway, so let's do this one up here. Instead of using a pattern paper, I chose to do a pattern onto my solid colored cardstock. So I'm going to take the stamp set that was offered in the kit, and I'm going to take the big star first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ink it up. And when I apply it, anytime that I'm making a background with my stamps, I try to stick to a triangle pattern. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean. And the best way to make it look more random is to kind of off-center it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over here, and it's going to be off my paper just slightly. Okay. And you can see that's like half of the star was on there. And that's completely okay. And I'm going to do it again. And first off, when you start with a new stamp, you want to season it. So you're going to put it on and you're just going to rub it. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow the ink to get into all the crevices. Secondly, when I go to apply my ink, I dab, and then I kind of twist it on top just a little bit just to make sure that that ink is setting in. So now I'm going to take it and I'm going to pretend that there's a triangle on my paper. So I'm going to bring it down to this corner and I'm going to do it off center again, but not as much as I did the first time. Okay, and you can see now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up here, and again I'm going to off center it, but I'm going to kind of make that triangle. Okay, and you can see because I have this cushion underneath me, and it doesn't have to be a cushion. I actually have this old beat up mouse pad, but it's kind of like made out of foam. I use that if for some reason I'm using a stamp set that does not have this cushion. So anything that's going to allow your stamp to sink in. Okay, so I did it 3, and since it's a small piece of paper that's looking like it has enough of this big stamp, so I'm just going to take my cleanser and my scrubber. I'm going to clean that up. And what I'm then going to do is I'm then going to grab one of the smaller stars. So we have 2 stars. I'm actually going to grab the bigger of the 2. This is off camera. So there's 2 stars. I'm going to grab this big one. Again, I'm just going to rub it just to make sure my ink stays on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to fill in all of the spots that are kind of empty that the bigger stars did not cover. Okay. And again, don't be afraid to go off the paper. You want it to look random. Even though it's technically not, you still want it to look random. Okay. And there you go. That's all there is to that. You would do the same thing with a larger piece of paper. You would just continue working making sure that you do the larger stamps first and then fill in with the smaller stamps. So let me move this out of the way, because the day my day is going is that I will get ink all over everything. So now what I'm going to do is, while I have my stamp and my ink out, I'm going to switch gears slightly, and I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to make this tag up here. Again, if you don't have a tag stamp set, that's completely okay. Just go ahead and feel free to cut out a stamp or a tag. Now, since this is just the outline, it's kind of really flimsy, and if I tried to pick it up on like randomly with my stamp pad, it would be all distorted and it would not give me the tag look that I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that stamp down on my paper first. That way it has the natural shape already established. Then I'm going to take my stamp block and I'm simply going to pick it up. What that's going to do is it's going to allow that natural shape of the stamp to stay intact. I'm going to take my white paper. I'm going to take my foam. Lay it under the white paper. Okay. Then I'm going to, and I'm using black ink today. I will be getting out a green ink later for the second card, but for the most part, I'm just going to stick to the black ink. Okay, so that's there. I'm going to clean off my stamp set because I'm crazy like that. If you take care of your stamps, you can keep them forever and ever. Or you can get most of your resale value out of them if you go to sell them in the future. So always try to take care of your stamp sets. I'm going to grab one of these sentiments. I used this one earlier, so I'm just going to switch it up. Again, any sentiment will do. Our stamp blocks also have this line down here. That's so you can line up your stamps and make sure that they're even. So I swear everything has a purpose. This is a brand new stamp set, so I'm going to season it. Then I'm going to take some of this black ink. I'm going to really soak it in there because it is a brand new stamp set. Okay. Then I'm just going to, my camera light is bouncing off my block, so I don't even know if I'm in here. Okay, and there you go with that. I'm going to clean off my stamp. I will store my stamp, and then I will fussy cut this tag out. One of the new things that we launched with our annual Inspirations idea book is a die that is in the shape of tags, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. Unfortunately, I have not yet because I was so excited about the Cats and Bats paper line that I went crazy ordering that stuff. But that is on my list of things to do, and what those do is it's just really a convenience factor. So if you're not used to dies, you don't really need them. Excuse me. But they do make your life a lot more convenient because you don't have to fussy cut, especially if you're working with detailed stamps. Okay, and there's that. Now I'll give you guys just 1 second to catch up. I hope that I didn't lose anybody. I tend to talk a lot and I tend to talk fast. Okay. What we're now going to do is we are going to use some ribbon. I have twine that I'm going to use. I also have gold shimmer trim. Okay, this is one of my favorite products. And everything is just going to lay flat. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the biggest piece to the bottom. And I'm just going to use my tape runner for it, or glue, wet glue, any type of glue really. And if you want to add dimensional tape, feel free to do that as well. The only thing that I recommend with dimensional tape is to be careful, because if you're making a lot of Christmas cards and you're going to mail them, it does cost more money to mail anything that does not fit through the post office. I don't know, they have like a secret little thingy that they have to slide mail through. This right here in your paper trimmer is the same width. So the rule of thumb there in the paper crafting world is if your project in the card fits through, fits through here, then it will cost only a stamp to mail. However, if you add lots of ribbon, lots of foam tape, anything like that, and it does not fit through here, then the mail will require you to mail it as a small parcel, which costs about $2.50. So that is just something to keep an eye on. Then we're going to go ahead, once we have that first one down and even, and let's just do my rule of thumb so I can teach you guys this. I'm going to grab my ruler. This is the rule of thumb to know if you're even or not, and I don't know if I'm even because it doesn't look too even. You take your ruler. Oh, look, we're even. It's what years of paper crafting does for you. So you take your ruler and you just line it up, and that is a nice, surefire way to get things nice and even. So once this is even, you're then going to just take your paper, and remember that you're going to get smaller and smaller, so try to center it as best as you can. And you're just going to lay that on top, and then I'm going to take this awesome paper that I created. I'm going to lay that on top as well. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of shimmer trim, and it doesn't have to be shimmer trim, it can be any type of ribbon, and I'm going to just cut it and lay it just like that, okay, and that's going to kind of be the ribbon on the presents. Sticky, sticky, sticky. Actually going to start at the top so I know that I'm centered, and then I'm just going to lay it straight down. Okay. Center that as best you can. And I had a little extra hanging out, so you can either cut that off or I tucked it under. Then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut just a small little strip of this trim, the ribbon, twine is I think what they call it, and I'm going to tie it in a bow, and I'm going to add it to the top of my tag. Bows are always tricky to tie for me. I saw somewhere that you can wrap it around a fork, but I obviously never have a fork in my craft room, but I think that's something that I need to invest in here, because I have a terrible time with ribbon all the time. Let me cut a big piece. That's how I do it. I cut a ginormous piece and then I trim it up. Okay. We're getting there, I promise. All right. So there's that. Boop. So what I do then is I just shrink it down. And then I cut it off. You do want some extra just kind of hanging free, but you don't want that much. Again, that goes back to my big fingers. My fingers are too big for little ribbons. So then what I'm going to do, and this is another area where you can use foam tape if you want, but you simply add that on there and put your ribbon right on top. Okay, and there you go. That's card number 1. Okay, and these are simple enough to, had a little bit of shimmery glitter going on down there. These are easy enough to batch make. So what you can do is you can just make a whole bunch of these and then pass them out for holiday cards. You can make a whole bunch of these and add different sentiments and different paper on the background and build up your stash of cards. So they're really simple, really easy. This next one's going to be easy as well, but let me put these ones up. The next thing we're going to use the same paper line. What we're going to do is, I'm going to pick up this stamp real quick. We are going to make this card. And the hardest thing about this card is going to be that tree. And what you need for that tree is you need a 5.5-inch circle cut in half. Okay? I have this paper cutter from Friskers, and I just marked it at 5.5, and I cut it out. And then what I did was I cut it straight in half. Okay, so half went to this tree and half is right here. You can use your die cut. You can use really anything. Any way that you get your circles, go ahead and get that. We're also going to use that same shimmer trim and ribbon. We are going to use the stamp set that came with it for the sentiment. And then we're going to simply layer on some paper. Okay, so get your 5.5-inch circle cut. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down my pattern paper, and I'm going to cut down my black. Okay, so my black is layered. And I did not leave a border on this. My borders are always cut a 1/4 inch smaller, so if you want a border, feel free to leave a border. I'm going to cut my black out at the standard A2 size, which again is 5.5 by 4 1/4. Okay. Then I'm going to take my pattern paper, and you can really use any side. That's the joy about our, I just think that's too black for Christmassy. I really like the sayings on this side. But the joy about our paper is that it is double-sided. So this is already cut to 4 inches. So what I'm going to cut this to is 5 1/4. Okay, and that is exactly 1/4 inch smaller than this one. Okay, I'm going to put this away for just 1 second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these 2 pieces of paper. Make sure that you leave your border on all sides of the paper. Okay. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to work with my 5.5-inch circle cut in half, which is 2 1/4. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to score it at 2 inches. Okay, and you can use your score pal for this. Or you can use a ruler if you want. Whatever tools you have necessary, whatever tools you have beside you, not necessary, whatever tools you have beside you are the tools that you can use. I scored it at 2 inches, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it. Let me just grab my paper to make sure I'm doing this right. So I have it, it's scored at 2 inches. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to fold it. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so it looks like this. Okay, what I'm then going to do is I'm going to fold the top smaller portion. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to keep a point right here. Okay, and that's just going to line up flat on this side. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the back. So I flipped it over again, and I just want to maintain that point up there. Okay. Okay, so one more time I'm going to do it with you. So we have our circle, our 5.5-inch circle cut in half at 2 1/4. We scored it at 2 inches. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to fold on that 2-inch mark. I'm then going to take my top piece, and I'm going to fold it all the way over so that I'm flat on this side and I'm pointed at the top. I'm then going to flip it over again, and I'm just going to finish folding it. Okay? Then going to take my bone folder, and I'm going to really smooth it out so that way I know that it's nice and taut and that that's where it goes. Okay, I'm then going to open it back up. I'm going to trim this because this will bother me. I'm then going to take my ink. I have a sponge that is cut, and I have some green ink, and I'm simply going to ink my edges. Okay, and when you ink, what you're going to do is start off the paper and then roll it onto the paper. And I don't know if you're supposed to go in circular pattern or circular motion. I do. I think it's just habit. You can kind of go back and forth too if you want. But you're going to ink the edges in a matching color. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to run down those score lines and those fold lines that I created. Okay. And this is just going to give it a little bit of depth to your paper. Okay, and then I'm going to put this away. I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold it again back up into my tree. I'm going to trim it. My tree's looking a little sloppy. Okay. You can kind of see. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. The inking it is not necessary. It's just one of my new favorite techniques. And it gives it a little bit more to look at when you're looking at the tree. Okay, so far this is what we have. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this top piece right here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to cut a piece of black. And then I'm going to cut a piece of white to go on top of it. Okay? And the black is going to measure 4 1/4 by 3. Okay, so let me move all this stuff back out of the way. Four 1/4 by 3. So I'm going to cut my 3-inch side first because I'm using a brand new piece of paper. And then 4 1/4. Okay. Then I'm going to use a white piece of paper that is going to measure. What did this one measure? This one measured 3 by 4 1/4. So this smaller one is going to measure 4 by 2 3/4. So again, a 1/4 inch smaller. Just making sure that's right. Okay, so 3 3/4. Okay, 3 3/4 by 2 3/4. Okay, so what it's going to do is it's going to lay right on top of this one, just like that. You can go ahead and put your cutter away. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to stamp onto this before I do anything else. Go ahead and grab my stamp, and I stamped onto this one before with a gold and I heat embossed it, and it didn't really do what I wanted it to do. So I'm just going to stamp on it with black this time. And again, I used this stamp set the first time through, so I'm going to switch it up and use my other stamp. It's okay if they all have the same sentiments on them. It's not a big deal. Okay. And the way I'm going to stamp this is I'm going to stamp it in the top right corner. Again, with the light, it's a little blinding, so I'm going to pull it down here. Okay. I'm going to clean off my stamp, and I'm going to tuck it away. We are all done with stamping. So if you want to go ahead and put those away, you can, unless you're going to create more. Again, this is another card that's very easy to batch create. especially since you need to take that 5.5-inch circle and cut it in half anyway. So you might as well make 2 cards. Okay, so we'll stick that right away. Okay, put my ink away so I don't land in it. Then the next thing I'm going to do, so I'm going to attach my white piece of paper right onto the black. Okay, so now I have 2 pieces of paper and I have my tree. With my tree, what I did was I just have this piece of scrap paper that kind of looks like the woods. You can just use brown if you want. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip a little piece off that, and I'm going to use that right here as the bottom of my tree. Okay, so this is what my tree looks like. I'm then going to attach the tree by applying adhesive to right on the opposite side of the fold. Okay, so that way my tree's not flapping around. Okay. Oh, and see what I did? I didn't apply it where I just told you to apply it, and now I'm gonna have to put a gem there. So apply it to the actual piece that you're gonna hold down. Okay, now we are going to apply our ribbon. Our ribbon gets applied to the larger base piece. Okay. The way that I attach ribbon is that I'm going to line this up. I'm just going to put adhesive right on the 2 edges. And then I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm just going to attach it to the back of that adhesive. Okay, and what this does is this is going to save me. Instead of wrapping it all the way around, you don't need it ribbon all the way back here, so there's no point in wasting it. So that is still across the front of my card. However, I'm not wasting ribbon. So that's a little trick that I learned. Okay, then I'm going to take my twine. Okay, and the twine works a little different. What you can do is you can do the same thing, okay? Or with the twine, what I like to do, again, going back to the fact that I have large fingers, is I like to just take my twine and I like to wrap it all the way around. So that way, let me make sure, because I'm going to tie a bow on the front. Okay, so that's why I do that. You can absolutely do the same thing that we just did to that shimmer trim, and then make a bow and just simply attach the bow to the front. And that's completely okay as well. See, that just works out better for me. I'm not very good with the bows. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off the extra. Okay. And if you don't like how loose this is, you can always add some adhesive right here. Okay. You can add some here too. Okay. And that'll make that a little tighter for you. Okay. All right. I think I need to move this over a little bit more. I'm going to run into problems when I go to put my tree up there. Oh, and you know what we didn't do? I didn't add this to it. So luckily, I didn't put adhesive to the back of here. Okay, because this needs to slide right down in here. Just like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my adhesive and I'm going to work my magic. I'm going to slide this behind that ribbon. Okay, there, just like that. Okay. Okay, you can see with this one, this is what I was talking about when I was tying the ribbon. With this one, I strung the ribbon the same way that I did the adhesive, and then I made a bow and I attached a bow to the front, and that keeps that bow really flat, where this one isn't as flat. So it's really your preference on however you want to do it. But those were the two different types, two different ways. And you can always put a glue dot or adhesive down in there as well. Okay, now is the fun part. We're going to take our tree. And we are going to attach the tree. Again, this is an area where you can use glue dot or a dimensional tape if you want to. But it just simply goes just like that. Okay. And then what you're going to do, and this makes all the difference, it really does, is you're going to apply these crazy little gems to the tree. And that's how I do it. Because there's adhesive on the back of these, and if you pick them up, the adhesive barely comes with them. What I do is I lay them down where I want them, and then I slide the paper, and I hope for the best. And again with these, it's kind of, see, that one did not come off on the, you got to kind of make sure that the little sticky thing comes with you when you take them off. Or get out a glue pen. Okay. That's what I end up doing with most of them anyway. Make sure that if you do this, and most glue pens do, but make sure your glue pen dries clear. If it's not going to dry clear, my head is completely in the frame. I'm sorry about that. So if it's not going to dry clear, then don't do it. But if it's going to dry clear, then just take your glue pen. Just make sure that you don't pick them back up. Okay. And it's worth the hassle if you're messing around with these little gems. That one didn't stick. Maybe it did. I already have adhesive over on this side, so I need to make sure I'm covering that. I really like our accessories because they come in the clear packaging, so you can kind of see where you're putting them. Oh. I got gems going all over the place. Okay. I have one stuck to my finger. And I have one. All right. Phew! We made it through. Oh, look, my ribbon is not. We're going to tape this ribbon down here. Okay. Okay. Up here. There we go. Okay. And there you have it. Those are the two cards. So they're super simple. And again, I was able to make 3 cards. Actually 6 cards. 3 different designs. And I still have almost 2 full sheets of that designer paper left. I actually do have 2 full sheets of that designer paper left. So there's tons of paper in this kit. And again, you get the B-size stamp set, accessories, card bases, envelopes, and all your pattern paper, as well as your solid colored paper in the Workshop Your Way kit. Okay, so it's $20.95, and you get all of that, as well as step-by-step directions on how to make these 2 cards. Okay, so it's really a good deal. If you did join us tonight and you made these cards, please do share the cards. You will get an extra bonus point into our raffle for, I'm offering a block as well as a stamp set. So thanks for sticking with me tonight. Thanks for coming along and crafting with me, and have a great evening. Bye, guys.